Hello, hello. It's been a really long time since I have posted a video update. I apologise for that, but I've been having a pretty tough time and have not been able to face videos, really. Lots of stuff has been going on in the background. I haven't had a walking socket or socket on my walking leg since November until quite recently. Number of factors in play for that some of which were out of my control, and that meant that I was very limited in the distance I could walk, and I was using a wheelchair a lot more. That alone pissed me off, and limited a lot of other things that I could do as well. Then I also didn't have a running blade. Now I haven't been able to run on the running blade for a significant amount of time, and that is because it needed a new socket. It couldn't have a new socket till we sorted out the socket on the walking leg. The walking leg sockets was delayed for a various number of reasons. So therefore I only got the blade back last week before, and I've not run on it since maybe August, September last year. Really long time. Me and the blade sort of like really aren't friends right now. It's been so long, and I wasn't really doing it for very long. It's been quite inconsistent because we've been adjusting it and lengthening it and changing the angle. Then the socket was rubbing, and then I had to wait for that. It hasn't been consistent, and it's been really bloody hard right from the start. We're just coming up to a year now that I've had that blade, and I haven't been able to run for most of that, only a couple of months here and there at a time. So it feels like I'm going right back to the start, and that feels really, really daunting, especially since I haven't really even walked any distance because of the walking socket, never mind run. So yeah, me and the blade haven't been out yet. I need to wrap my head around it because it's just kind of, I can't even begin to comprehend it or even entertain it at the moment. The main source of my stress at the moment have been pending court cases with legal entities over various things that I'm supposed to be provided that I'm not. It has gotten as far as the Independent Complaints Commission at government, international government level, and we're still not getting very far. I'm finding it really, really, really bloody stressful, and it's consuming a lot of my energy and making me feel really fragile and on a knife edge. So just getting through a day and wrapping my head around that means that I've been struggling to find energy for anything else. So that means I've had lots of motivation for most things. I've just been sitting sort of like in a trance. I've not been going anywhere, really socializing much, and I haven't really done any consistent training since Christmas. It's all kind of compounds really with the dysthymia, which is persistent depressive disorder, and the PTSD, which is also triggered by what's going on. That on top of the fact that I'm relatively new amputee, I'm limited by the fact that I'm again waiting for limb centres. There was a closure at the limb centre during Christmas. I had this trouble last year, 2 months where I can't get a hold of them. This week there was no prosthetist in the limb centre at all, and so I went to Christchurch to get my leg looked at. It's just, yeah, the stress has just been too much, to be fair, too much, and I've not been able to even talk about it, and I'm struggling to talk about it now, actually. But that's not all. Then you've got the race issues, the races that are meant to have been doing. So I was supposed to go to Te Anau and do a swim across the lake race, and also a waka ama race. Now I haven't actually been in a waka since I came back from London last August, because there's not enough people down here for me to get out in a boat, in a 6 boat, and paddle, and I don't have a single, or access to one even. So I haven't been in a boat at all. That said, I was supposed to be in Te Anau for a race, and I couldn't get accommodation. For weeks before it, I couldn't get accommodation, so I couldn't do the swim race or the waka ama race because I couldn't get accommodation in the area. And then I was meant to be going to Wanaka this weekend to do Challenge Wanaka, and it's actually a deferred entry from a few years ago from COVID. And the team aren't all friends of mine. The cyclist is somebody I've been in a team with before, because he was looking for a swimmer, but I've got his number, but that's, and I didn't know his name, but I don't know anything more than that. And yeah, and so I sent out a message to the runner and the cyclist this week, messaged them to begin with when Challenge Wanaka's date was set and the entry was deferred over. And they both said yes, that date was fine, they were still willing. And then I hadn't heard from either of them for a really, really long time, many, many months. And I thought, oh, just before I head off to Wanaka this weekend, I better just check I actually have a team. And I messaged the both of them at the beginning of the week saying, just checking everyone's all good for the race this weekend. And with just about 48 hours to notice, I've had a message back from the cyclist saying the cyclist is no longer doing it. So that leaves me without a team. You know what, with all the other stresses that I've just explained to you already, and the fact that I'm just teetering on a knife edge, coping and not coping at the moment, do you know what, I'm not going. I can't afford the extra hotel costs in the fact that I might or might not find another cyclist, and the extra travel costs and all that sort of thing, and the stress involved with that. And I don't need to be putting myself into a stressful situation trying to find myself a cyclist. I'm just gonna cut my losses, lose the $200 and odd worth of entry fee I paid, and just, yeah, can it and not go. I just can't deal with it. It's too much. On top of everything else, it's just too much. But that means that I don't have any races now. That was no race. I haven't done any races this year at all, and that must be the first time in a couple of years that's been the case. So that leaves me back in the motivation circle, like, well, what's the point? Because like there's no races to train for, and blah blah blah, and we just go round in this battle between motivation and stress and all the external factors I'm struggling to deal with, and the court cases and all of that sort of thing, and it's just too much. So on the flip side of that, I do have a couple of positives that I am gonna stick here in here on the end. I still seeing getting regular support for the PTSD and whatnot, and I know of the things that I'm supposed to be doing, but if you've ever had persistent depression, you know how hard it is to actually do it. You know what you're supposed to be doing, but to make yourself do it. And I live on my own as well, so there's nobody going, hey, that sort of thing. So at Christmas time, I changed the name of my business, rebranded just after Christmas, rebranded, changed the logo, changed the name, and that has now been done. What that means is that we've had to work again back from scratch with the Google search to get me ranking on the search well, because I was ranking at the top of the search locally with the previous website, but it's all different now. That means I've also, now I'm back to being a sole trader, I've had to build up the business again, back to selling myself rather than a business entity as such. I'm back on the chalk face, like back a full circle to where I started from, and there's extra pressures that go with that. But there's not much I can do about it, I just have to rock on. And then what I've been doing in the personal space is when I've got the energy, I have been doing some home decorating. Now that goes real slow. It's do a bit, sit, rest, do a bit, sit, rest. Way slower pace than a normal able-bodied person. And there's a lot of things that I really struggle with. And yeah, but I've battled on. This room that I'm sitting in right now used to be a different colour completely. And I've repurposed this room and repainted it, so it was like a dark red sort of colour with a flowery border. So yeah, I'm feeling quite proud of what I've managed to do, but yeah, it's still quite a battle in the background for the rest. I sat in a coffee shop yesterday, and one of my top goals every month at the moment is no negative self-talk, and I have been doing that too much. Like can't go swimming, it's too far, can't go cycling because I'm too tired, can't go running, it's too hard, those sorts of things. So I did myself a brainstorm with all of my excuses, and then a whole lot of solutions to that around the outside. And this was yesterday, day before yesterday. and then went and put back in place a lot of the support things I used to do to motivate myself to get out and do stuff. I know that I feel better when I've exercised, but when you're in the depressive state, motivating yourself to do that in the first place, we're there back round on the hamster wheel. So we're on day 2 of this relocate my mojo. Yesterday I sat on Zwift and did a workout. Now, I used to love Zwift, used to just love just cycling through these virtual universes, but even that motivation has gone. So if I go and find a workout to do, it tells me what to do, it tells me what effort levels to do, there's a timer, and I found that a lot better motivation wise. So I did that yesterday, and then I know that Zwift are launching a new world, Scotland, and that's because the UCI World Championships is up there soon. So the only way you can ride that on Zwift is by entering a group ride. So that's what I did this morning. So that's 2 days, 2 days of exercise, 2 bike rides. Really, really sore on the legs sometimes, and there's not a real fucking lot I can do about that, excuse the French, but it's just a case of embracing the pain, getting back out the TENS machine, and boxing on. So my workout space is right there, and next to that is my rowing machine, which is standing up on its end. I need to find a way of motivating myself to row on the rowing machine. I'm going to have to think about that because it's really not that interesting. But that's how I get the on the water exercise when I can't access a boat. So I'm still here. I'm still working hard, not succeeding quite as well some of the time. However, life isn't always a box of roses. Sometimes it's a box of frogs, sometimes it's a box of rocks. So yeah, just keeping it real and letting you know how actually challenging it is being an amputee, dealing with all sorts of legal people you don't want to deal with, whilst having PTSD and persistent depression. Not easy, but we're getting there bit by bit.